Michelle last. Today we are making a card using the Wondrous Wreath stamp set, and we're making this lovely card here which has got like a swag using the wreath stamp itself, but just cut in half, and then 3 of the halves have been used, so you'll have 1 left over. So here is your card pack, and inside your card pack you will find 2 white Whisper White squares, and what we're going to do is we're going to stamp both of those with the wreath, and we're going to stamp in Old Olive is the lighter colour and Garden Green is the darker colour. So I'm going to stamp both of the whole wreaths in Old Olive. And remember, we need to remember how to identify where the top tab is. So I'm going to stamp the wreath, press it down really firmly and nicely, and then tip it to get a little dink, so I know that that's the top. And I'm going to do exactly the same again on the other piece. Stamp it, and then as I'm lifting it, a little dink will identify the top of that one. Then what I'm going to do is get the Garden Green. I do need to clean my stamp, but let me just grab my scrub and clean it, because I'll be using it for another colour in a moment. Lovely. Then what I'm going to do is use my Garden Green, and I'm only going to pick out the leaves. And do you remember the tab at the top of the stamp set? That's to identify the top again. So I'm going to get some nice dark green leaves, and I've got the tab. I'm just going to put a little bit of ink on the tab there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand. Now these 2 leaves here marry up with these 2 leaves here, and then that one there marries up with this one. Can you see that there? So what I want you to do is go quite close and line those 2 up, and then twist your stamp just a fraction until you can actually get the leaves appearing over the top of the other ones, okay? And if I line that up, again I know that that's the top. That's my first one. I can do exactly the same again. I'm going to line up those 2 leaves, and I'm going to line up like that. Give it a quick clean, and there are my 2 wreaths stamped. Now what I need to do is cut around those using the framelit dies, and because we've identified, it would be very hard if I hadn't identified that to know which way was up. Now the reason you need to know which way is up, if you haven't watched one of my videos on this stamp set already, you will know that I've already given this tip, but it's better to give it 3 times than not at all, because you might watch them in a different order. So I'm now going to get my framelit wreath die. I'm going to lay my wreath on my magnetic platform. This has got a little point to tell me this is the top of the die, so if I lay that down, I should be able to manage to fit my stamped image inside the framelit quite quickly, whereas if I hadn't have known that that was the top, I would have been turning it and it would have taken me ages. This is the inner part of the wreath, which means you can do the whole thing in one movement. And can you see this little recess here? There's a little white gap there. That's where this little part fits in, and that's the top here that's going to need to be pointing north. So what you don't want is to see any ink. So position the middle section, just move it until you feel that you're happy, that you're getting a nice centre cut out. So yeah, I just had a little move to see what I'm doing. That to me looks pretty good. So I'm going to put my plate on top, and then I'm going to pass it through my Big Shot, and I've also got to do the other one. So I'm passing it through my Big Shot. I've got too much on my desk. Ugh. simply pop out. So there's my first wreath. Now I'm going to do my second one. Again, I know that that's the top. Thank goodness, that was going to save me a lot of time. Again, look how quick and easy that is. And I'm going to position this in here. Make sure that I don't see any ink. If I see ink, this isn't positioned correctly. What I mean by that is here. Can you see? You can see ink here. Don't want to see the ink. I want to cover it. That looks good to me. Put the plate on top. And now run it through our big shot. And then I'll end up with 2 wreaths. And what I need to do is cut them in half. Now if I show you my sample, you'll see I've just found like a neat place to cut off a whole leaf to create 3 halves of wreaths. Perhaps didn't sound very good English, but I'll show you what I mean. So as I'm looking at my wreath here, I just need to find a sort of convenient place to cut around the leaves to create a centre. So if that's going to be my centre, I would say that if I cut around here, there's 1/2, which has left me this one, which means I'm going to cut off those little side sections here because they just look a bit weird when it's on its own. So there's another one. And then I'm going to find this one and just find an easy, convenient place to cut. There is no exact science, just find a nice spot and then go to the opposite side and cut it out. There is going to be a little bit of overlap when we line them up, so don't worry too much. Then what we've got in our card pack, this is the front of my card because it's on the front, and then obviously the inner piece is on the inside. I'll take that out. We're going to use early espresso and we're going to stamp the Have a Wonderful Christmas. So I should clean that. Let me give it a quick clean. I'm just going to ink it up in the early espresso, and again don't stick the white card down because if you get it wrong this time you can turn it over and do it on the other side. Okay, I'm going to stamp it in the bottom right corner as straight as I can. The smaller the stamp, the least amount of pressure. So the smaller it is, the less pressure, the bigger it is, the more pressure. So there's our sentiment there. Then what we're going to use is we're going to use dimensionals and we're going to stick our wreaths down. You either start with the 2 outer ones and then do the middle one, or start with the middle one and do the 2 outer ones. It's up to you. I'm going to do the 2 outer ones because I don't really know where it would position in the centre, whereas if I do the 2 outer ones, what you don't want to do is overlap the white too much. You do have a little bit of play because that's going to stick down there like that, but you don't want to overlap too much because it's going to come off the card and it may not fit in your envelope. So then get my other wreath and stick that down. Do you know what, I'm going to take those dark green leaves off there, just look too much. I'm going to stick that on there like that, and then I've just got my middle one. I'm going to stick a dimensional, 3 dimensionals on the back of the middle one, and then that should just tie up like that. So there we've got our 3 wreaths. Now we need to stick it on the back. I'm just going to grab a snail adhesive. Okay, Pip's coming to join us. She'll have a job. I've got so much stuff on my office floor. Don't know if she can get near. I'm going to position that in the centre with an even gap all the way around. I noticed that some of the edges of my paper are a bit snagged. That may be that my trimmer needs sharpening. If you found that, just use a nail file or something just to take off the snags. I'll stick that to the front of my card now. I haven't quite got that positioned right. There we go. And then the inside on my card, I'd stamped the other sentiment, may happy moments and cherished memories surround you with joy this season. So I'm going to stamp that on the inside with the early espresso. So actually make these cards along with you so you can see roughly how long they'll take. I hope you discover that they just don't take very long at all, not with everything that's pre-cut and scored for you. And I hope that that's a really nice bonus and feature of joining the classes. And now all we need to do is we need to mount this on the inside of my card. And then we now need to just add the berries. And the berries are rhinestones. You've got those in your pack. And they're here. And we're going to colour them with blendability. So if you have alcohol markers, you can use any alcohol markers. Alcohol markers will dry instantly on the dimensionals, the Demontes, sorry. You could stick those on and have lovely silver ones. You're going to use the thick tip of the blendabilities, and you're going to just colour them in. So try and be gentle, because if you press too hard with the point of this tip, you might split the tip, and that's going to make for colouring in future much more difficult. So there we go. When you're putting the lid back on blendabilities, you're supposed to lay them on the table and then they'll just click into place really nicely. These should be dry now. They dry really quick, and then you just pick them up and take them. I'm going to put one here. And then I'm going to just scatter them on my wreath. You can see that didn't come off on my finger at all, the red colour. And if you've got any mistakes or badly stamped areas, this would be the perfect thing to cover them up with. Save one little rhinestone for the inside of the card, but otherwise add as many as you wish. One here. Whoops. Where'd that go? It's gone on the inside, look. That one there. So we've got roughly 3 per wreath. So I do one there, and then this last one, I've done one next to the Christmas just here, and I'm going to do this last one on the inside just there. And that is the card. Now I made that with a rather weird size card because I made it long and thin so we could fit the swag, the wreath on it. So I had to make my own envelope. So I would talk you through the envelope punch board. I won't show you how to make one because if you don't have an envelope punch board at home, it won't mean anything to you. But where is my envelope punch board? Here it is. Okay, just to show you what I did and how I worked out the envelope size. On this grid paper, we have inches, but in fact I need to use centimetres because I've got centimetres on my envelope punch board. I'm going to take this off and flip this over. But you didn't know that, did you? This is brilliant stuff, this grid paper. I am zoomed out as far as I can. I laid this down on my grid paper and measured it. So I know that it is 8.5 centimetres by 21 centimetres. Well, what I did was I went to my envelope punch board and I found a card that was 8.9 centimetres by 21.6 centimetres. Here, and that tells me that the paper size I need is 24.8 by 24.8, and the first punch, I need to line it up with 7.9 centimetres, which is just here, just before the 8 centimetres. So I would lay my paper, this is going to be a bad demonstration, but I'm going to lay my paper in the punch board where it's 7.9, do my first punch and score, turn and continue until you'll end up with an envelope. I did demo this in the class, and it just, I did it in different colour cardstock. But basically I made the envelope to fit my card, and then you're just going to fold it in and just glue these two sections, and that's your envelope. Now I've done one for you in all of your card packs, so you've all got an envelope ready to go to fit this card. So that was just a little insight into the envelope punch board. So that is the nice swag card. I hope you enjoy making that one, and I'm just about to go off and record the next video, so thanks for watching. Alright, thank you.